Hi guys, and welcome to the next lesson in Advanced Woodscraft. Today we're going to touch a little bit about fire safety, and a couple little techniques on starting a fire. Now, fire skill is the first skill that I teach, and there's a very simple reason. With fire, I can make water safe to drink. With fire, I can heat myself in adverse conditions to keep myself warm, to avoid hypothermia. Also, I can take it and cook food. I can signal. I can do other things. It's a calming thing to have a fire at night so that I can see and keep the boogeyman at bay, that type deal. So a fire is the number one skill I teach to begin with. First step and understanding beyond fire, let's take fire out of the equation a minute, is the prep. Prep is the number one thing, and the number one thing that's going to get you in trouble. So I need you to pay close attention to this, because this is one of those things that if you skip it, you're just laissez-faire with it. It can ruin your life. Now, you're wanting to build a fire. Remember those W's of wood, water, wildlife, and etc.? Okay, when we're coming here and we're going to build a fire, first thing I have to do is pick the fire location. Now that could go along with my camp. So I've figured out all of the above of wood, water, wildlife, widowmakers, etc. Now I'm focusing down. My shelter is going to be over here. I'm going to put my hammock between these two trees back here. Right here is where I want to put my fire. Now, let us consider what the ground is. As you can see, this ground is in heavy leaves. Okay? Too many times, and I'm not calling out anybody, but too many times in other videos, I see somebody get out right in the middle of that, do no prep whatsoever, start pulling limbs and stuff and start building a fire. You're setting yourself up to fail, because this deep layer of leaves right here, I want to clear it out to get down to dirt. So you do what we used to call the fire dance. And the fire dance was taught to the little ones when they were coming up and they're wanting to help out. They do the fire dance. The fire dance is you take your heel and you start doing this. You start sliding it and kicking it out of the way. Like this. Looks kind of like a chicken scratching in the barnyard, don't it? And you clear out to dirt. Here's how it can ruin your life. Listen to me. You come up here and you build that fire and you don't clear it back. And I sit there and I watch the fire and I cook my little ration or whatever. And then it dies down. It's gone. It's really out, you know. And I'm going to continue hiking. I walk off with just a little bit of smolder. The surface may have stopped burning, but this thick layer right here underneath, that's not just this dry stuff, it's that compressed stuff underneath it. It may be burning, smoldering. There's no smoke coming up, Blackie. But it'll sit there and smolder like a wick and grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe 2 days from now, 100 yards from here or right here, a forest fire just starts. And they come back and they trace it to you. Have you got the money to pay for 100 acres of prime timber? over $500,000 worth of timber. I know for a fact of this happening. My family member had 10 acres burned by a young man. Innocent accident. He was fishing down there on a creek that was on the border of it. He built him a little bitty fire to heat up something to eat. He thought the fire was out, but it was a deep bed of pine straw. And it ran under that stuff, getting just enough air to keep it going. And so 2 days after he'd walked off, it fired up in the middle of the night. Got a little wind, and it was the conditions that it needed, and it went to burning. And so when everybody woke up and realized that the woods were on fire, there was 10 acres gone. And that young man had to go to court for that. So yeah, it's important. Beyond from our bushcraft point of view, this is a liability. Because if it goes wrong, I guarantee you some lawyer ain't going to understand and a judge ain't going to understand. So you have to take this bloody serious. Okay? Whenever I'm going to set up my camp, I have to clear out how big. If it's damp and moist like it is right now, I make it 2 steps. Let me demonstrate. I want to clear this back to where it's 1 full step to where the fire is, and then 1 full step to the other side. So that's going to be about 6 or so feet across. All the way down to dirt. That's damp wet. How about if it hasn't rained in quite a while and it's bone dry and they have not announced a burn ban, but I want 3 steps. Actually 4. I want 2 full steps to the fire pit and 2 full steps to the other side. That's how big a circle. That's probably about 12 foot across, Blackie. Yeah, it is. And even then, if it's those kind of conditions, I'm going to dig a Dakota hole to try to limit sparks or anything. What's a better way than to put on bare dirt is to rake up dirt and make a mound instead of a fire pit. Make a mound. If I don't have wind and I don't have to worry about sparks going up and catching in a canopy above me, and that's another consideration, or them widow makers, if you got a lot of pine straw trapped in a tree right over you, even though it's not a pine tree, it's an oak tree, but there's a lot of pine straw. If one of those sparks goes up there and catches in that, and they got what's called a crown fire, and that's bad. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to give you what you need to know, because this is serious. Everybody wants to talk about the building of the fire. What they don't want to talk about is this part, about the liability that you're setting yourself up for when you say, I built a fire. Okay? So I want to make bloody sure that that fire is on dirt, not on deep loam or peat, not on a reclaimed coal mine. Had that happen. We were at a place doing a big living history camp out, and it was a reclaimed coal mine, strip mine, and you dug down 4 inches in the ground and there was a seam of coal. We couldn't have fires for fear it'd set that coal bed on fire. So the only way we could do it was haul sand from the creek down there and make mounds like that of sand and build on top of them instead of any possibility of heat getting into the ground. You got to think about these things, guys, because it does make a difference. So I have selected my camp. I have determined, due to conditions, relative safety right now to have fire, I want 1 full step from the edge to the fire pit and 1 full step from the fire pit in a 360. Okay? So it's really like 2.5 steps across. That's where I'll build my fire. I'll feel confident I'm not going to set the ground on fire. Now, fire's over. I'm going to leave. Okay? What do? Well, I will smother everything there. I finish my breakfast, cooking my breakfast, and I'm going to leave out of here about lunch. And so I'm going to finish my breakfast. I'm not going to add any more wood. I'm going to rake all the coals up into one pile, and then I'm going to rake ash and dirt over it and let it smother. Okay? When it's time to go, that's when I'm going to dig and spread and run my hand over. If I feel any heat, I add water. Until I can pick it up and hold it in my hand, it's not out. Okay? You add water then, make sure it's completely soddened and there is nothing there. And then I don't bury it in pine straw. I have seen this too, where someone says, oh, it's out, and then they heap up pine straw over it trying to camouflage it. If you're right, no problem. If you're wrong and there is a cinder, you just add a dry pine straw on top of it. And, oh, by the way, fanned it, putting it up there. So therefore, I don't. Rake it out, leave it bare, make sure it's 100% out. In fact, that wet dirt, broadcast it, throw it out yonder, whatever. Natural pine straw will cover that up. You know, any burned chunks of wood that are not, you know, consumed by it, but they're out, I'll bury them. I'll dig in the heat a little bit, put dirt over top of it and pack it down. So I don't have jagged hunks of wood here, and it's nothing left but a little bit of soot. Now if I'm in a park, that might be different. But out here in the woods, I do not worry about that because next rain's going to get rid of that, and nature will deposit stuff to cover it up very shortly. And so that's not a big consideration. But the biggest consideration is making sure that I do not start a fire, nor do I have a fire in any kind of conditions where it's going to spread beyond my control through the ground, a ground fire. Okay? Next, let's talk about a little trick I want to pass on to you in this. And what it requires is we're going to show about scraping. Alright, I've got a piece of a cut-off log right here. We're going to set up on something in a second, and I'm going to show you this trick. And it's a trick to how to take fat wood or something, make shavings in a focused way where I can easily gather them to use to make a fire. So let me set up. Now I have my WC Blackbird that has a 90-degree spine on it. I also have with me my silky saw, the Gum Boy. I have a block of fat wood, and I also have my Victorinox Fieldmaster, which has a saw on it. When you're going to do shavings, a lot of people take the wood in their hand, put it down onto a block, put your thumb onto the blade, and start shaving. And this does work. It does produce shavings. Just like that. Be able to catch a spark easily. But another trick I want to pass on to you is this. And that's taking the knife, get it to right there, make sure I tell the thing. And we're going to put it in the block, like that. And then I'm going to take a big old broad leaf. Put that broad leaf right up there against the edge. Now I'm going to hold the knife and I'm going to pull just like this and create those shavings. The vast majority of the shavings are going to be on that side and they're going to go down onto that leaf. So as I scrape, I automatically get my shavings onto that leaf so I can pick the leaf up and move it without compressing it too much. A lot of times we make up a shaving pile and then we want to grip it and pick it up. Well, you're squeezing it together and you're losing a lot of surface area because you're squeezing those shavings. This way I've got a leaf that I can ignite. I can take it over here to my bird nest, let's say, and take this and actually lay it down in it or drop it in a specific place for me to ignite so it's all together. By using this trick of sticking it in a block and then doing it, I can catch them in a very specific place. But it doesn't have to be just your knife. The back of a lot of these saws is also sharp enough to shave like that and get shavings. So your saw can do this as well for generating up curlicues for utilizing and making a fire. Just like that. Easy, quick, and generates a pile. One of the reasons I carry a Victorinox Fieldmaster is it's got a good saw on it. Moreover, the back edge of that saw is two 90-degree edges. So if I put my thumb on the side of the blade and get up here close to the knife, I can easily do shavings with it without having to use the teeth. Just like that. The trick, the technique, is to have it where I put it on a catch basin, in this case onto the leaf, so I can transport it to my actual ignition point where I'm going to actually set up the fire. I also like to take and make up my, I'll improvise right quick. I'll take my, let's say that this was a bird's nest. I would come up here and actually put it into that bird's nest right there to be the ignition source. Now when I strike into it, poof, it's already there at the tender and I can easily roll it over and catch it on fire. So being able to transport the shavings easily without compressing them makes it a better ignition. So, fire safety is a big, big thing. Not just for Smokey the Bear, but you're putting yourself in a liability. So it should be a serious consideration for you. Don't play fast and loose with it. Stay focused with it. Because I guarantee you, 90% of the people that ended up going to jail for burning down a large portion of the forest didn't intend to do it. It was just something that never crossed their mind whenever they did lit the campfire or they dumped that barbecue grill of hot coals into that pile of leaves over there. They didn't think about it. So stay focused. It's not the big things that usually get you. It's the little details. So, like I showed in my first advanced class of how to set up a tarp, how to set up for speed deploy and things like that. You set yourself up for success. So I come out, I use the 5 W's and I pick my campsite. Once the campsite has been picked, then I select my fire site. And that must be carefully picked as well. It doesn't have to be in depth. It doesn't have to be something you spend an hour trying to figure out. But it does need to be something that you're sure of. That if I've got a deep leaf bed, do the fire dance, start doing the chicken and start kicking it out until it's a full step to get to the fire pit and a full step to the other side in 360. Now I know it's not going, I'm on bare dirt. Okay? When I'm done with my fire for the day or the evening or whatever, I bank it up tight to smother it, squeezing it down, burying it in the ash and etc. And I let it smother down and die. I don't just walk off after it's had time to do that and I broke down camp and I'm ready to go. Before I put my pack on, that's when I go over and I verify it's completely out. Stone cold dead. Put your hand up there, there should be no heat. If I can't hold it in my hand, it's not out. The small pieces, if they're completely out. If there's a water source nearby, I'll take those small pieces and just throw it into the water to guarantee they're completely solid and they're never going to be a problem. If there are small pieces, I'm going to kick a hole with my heel and bury them right quick, stomp them down tight. It should be a nice, smooth transition. Doing it that way means you'll never have to say I'm sorry. And this is a biggie. I never want to have to say I'm sorry I burned down your woods and destroyed your land. Because that's all kinds of headaches. And we do not want them. We want to be able to come out here for years and enjoy the woods, enjoy the forest, not have to say I'm sorry. If you've enjoyed this content, guys, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it to feed the algorithm. Until next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.